You're in the middle of a job search and you just feel like giving up. You feel like you've applied and applied and applied and nothing is happening, and grief is starting to set in, if it hasn't set in already. Well, today I have a special guest for you. Her name is Lori Lawrence, and I will let you introduce yourself, Lori. I'm so glad to have you here with us.
Absolutely, Lisa. Thank you so much. It's a pleasure, and this is a privilege for being a part of this. So, my name is Lori Lawrence, and I am the founder of Next Chapter Career Coaching, and I am a job search specialist. Now, this is a boutique coaching service and business that I provide those that are over the age of 45 professionals that have been in their career for several decades, probably that have found themselves either because of a layoff or they have left a job or they took time off as a caregiver because of their circumstances in life, and now they're back in the job market and they are facing an extremely difficult and competitive job market. So I work with those over the age of 45 in their job search. So thank you again for having me today.
Well, what triggered me to even ask you, Lori, was number one, I really enjoy your newsletters that you send out, and you have great advice. You have a lot of spunk, a lot of energy, but a lot of experience. And what spurred you on was a loss. So this is not a job for you. This is a mission, correct, Lori?
Absolutely. It is. I found myself in an interesting situation back in 2023. I was cruising along in my career as a senior account executive selling high level technology into health systems. I was a part of the health tech boom, which is booming right now. During that time, my brother, my younger brother, who at the time was 61 years old, had contacted me and said, I think I just got laid off. And he sent me the email, and sure enough, he had indeed come from a very large tech company after almost 20 years. And he received an email that basically said, your position has been eliminated. HR will contact you with all of your information. So, no human contact, everything is coming over email. So, it came over to him very much in a shock. So, I quickly got him together a resume, and he didn't even have a LinkedIn profile. Head down working 19 years in the same organization. And so for him, this loss was decimating to his life because it truly was his identity. This
Mhm.
was his. Doesn't necessarily happen for everyone, but for him, it was who he was. He wasn't married at the time. And so, for him, he identified this job with his life. And
100%.
so, after several months of interviewing and trying to figure out, what am I going to do next? And what am I doing wrong with an interview? And for me, being in sales, presenting myself to somebody else was easier than my brother, who had been a solutions engineer for his life, and so very technical, but outside of that he was very uncomfortable. And so unfortunately we did not know that he was already in a dark place, but he made the decision in October of 2023 to take his own life, and he left a note that stated, I'm too young to retire and too old to start over. And
Mm.
so while it's very sad, it also was a wake-up call, not only for me, but realizing there's so many others that perhaps feel this way. And then 2 months after what that, I was laid off. My company was acquired
Mhm.
and I was laid off. And so I found myself in a situation in which I was grieving, not only for my brother, not so much grieving for my job. I was working in a startup that I knew I had anticipated there would be an acquisition happening. I just didn't think it would happen as quick as it did, but I prepared for it. But grief is something that a lot of folks I know of that are in a job search, especially like my brother, you grieve for a lot of different reasons. You can grieve people, and you can also grieve for yourself if you've lost a piece of yourself that is so tied into the work that you've done. So I
Mhm.
find this to be a true for a lot of folks that I talk to on a weekly basis that I'm either working with or just trying to help them, kind of figure out where they're missing in their job search strategy. And grieving and recognizing that grief has to be recognized, it has to be gone through, it has to be identified. A lot of folks are like, I don't have time. I have to get a paycheck. I have to come back to work. I don't have time for that. well, then they're going to have to learn how to go through that process at the same time that they are going through that job search. So it can be very overwhelming and very difficult if you're trying to do this all alone. So
All
my
alone.
mission is to help those so that they don't find themselves in that dark hole, that dark place that allows demons to get a hold of you and make poor decisions.
It was spurred on by you wanting to offer hope to others.
Absolutely. It's hope and an actual strategy. You can give folks hope in one hand, but if they don't have a true strategy and a playbook to know, okay, I can do this, but how do I do this? That's what I provide for them. I provide them a very customized playbook because everyone's situation is very different. And I'm agnostic across all industries. And I'm really agnostic across all levels, from individual contributors all the way up to the C-suite, but I mostly kind of stay there in the middle, that middle level of folks that while they still may be an individual contributor, they're still a part of a leadership or they have leadership responsibilities because
Mhm,
they have so much experience underneath their feet, either in a single role or multiple companies, and now they're trying to find that next role
mhm.
for themselves.
People who are managers, middle managers, who have gone through an acquisition have grief also for the people who they were managing, that they were supervising, that they were leading.
Yeah, I know that in my brother's situation, because the company that he had worked at did not want any kind of contact for they felt there was for liability reasons or legal reasons or whatever. So they had instructed those direct managers not to be in contact, which a few of them said, to heck with it. I'm going to reach out to
They
my
would
folks. I'm going to say, hey, let's go to lunch. Let's go talk. Unfortunately, my brother's manager did not. And I know that we have spoken since then, and he has been riddled with grief and regret.
mhm,
And again, I've assured him there's nothing that he could have
no,
done
right,
for that. That is not his responsibility.
right.
That was not his responsibility. But you're right. I was a manager for a number of years. And when those workforce reductions happened, whether it was with my team or a part of my team or others that I knew, yes, you have to really understand we are losing folks that you know, human beings that you know around you and you're left, that
Mhm.
sometimes is harder than if you left and walked out the door because now
Oh,
you are left with
absolutely.
picking up the pieces of those that are all left behind. So it is an unbelievable dichotomy that we as human beings have to really understand how to appropriately go through this and build some strength and understanding for how do we move forward? How do we go back and build momentum? And a lot of times folks have to have someone to do this with them. It's not something they just innately know how to do by themselves. It's almost impossible.
And Laurie, I perceive that you are a go-getter, and that's what you expect
Mhm.
too, is that your people who go to you, these are the people who you want to attract, are the people who are go-getters, who are going to sit in their grief for a little while, but they're not going to stay there. And if they do tend to stay there, you will help them move with compassion.
Absolutely. I'm a very honest and direct coach. I work with adults, and these adults in their past role and in their future roles are going to be compensated greatly, usually six figures. And
Yeah.
so I make that while, yes, there are emotional issues with all of this process, we still have to get back to the business at hand. We still have to move forward while we are at the same time adjusting our mindset and understanding kind of some of those gaps that we're feeling. And so I work with them on both. So I'm not a psychologist, I have no
Right.
training in psychology. But again, I understand that a lot of times you don't feel like doing something, but you still have to do it if you are looking for results. I work with go-getters, but I also work with folks that have thrown their hands up and said, wait a minute, the last time I was looking for a job was in 2011. It wasn't this hard. I put together a
All
beautiful
right.
resume, or I had someone put together a beautiful resume. And now I'm not getting any calls, no recruiters.
Mm,
I'm getting rejection letters because of all the technology. So, what am I doing wrong? What's happening? Well, they've only basically scratched the surface on what has to happen in a job search. And that's
mm,
what a lot of folks I help educate them on is It's not just about a pretty resume and getting your LinkedIn profile up to date.
No.
You have to participate in this process. Because again, recently I'm about to publish a newsletter on some very recent, as of May 2026, research from multiple sources that applying alone, just applying alone, and this is getting an interview. The whole point of this is you want to move into the interview stage because the interview stage is the stage that will allow for an offer. But if you're not getting interviews, you're not going to get an offer. So this research was done on how do we move folks quickly into the interview stage. Well, only applying was about 0.2% to 3%. Applying and adding in engagement and networking and referrals now bumped your opportunities to interview to
13.
13%. Huge, huge numbers. And so, and then all of that before the interview is what I call tier one. And there's
Mhm.
all different, there's a real playbook for that, as well as a mindset, a confidence build, communications that all have to be understood depending on what your industry is, what roles you're applying to, and who you're trying to get attention from or let people know what you're looking for. After that, once you've been invited to a discussion for an interview, then that becomes the tier three before your offer in negotiations. So it's tier one, tier two, and tier three. And there are a lot of folks that are stuck in tier one. There are many folks that are getting lots of opportunities to interview. They can't get past and into an offer. So we work on those. So I'm very, very customized for folks, whether they're go-getters, as long as they are not negative, what I call the Eeyores.
Mhm.
Woe is me.
Mhm.
I can't do this. I'm too old. If you feel you can't do it, then you can't do it. If you feel you're too old, then you're too old. It's really about a very positive mindset that I may not know what I'm doing now, but if I work with someone, they are going to help. Lori's going to help me get to where I need to be very, very quickly because I'm a smart, intelligent professional. I can
Mhm.
put together her work and then use it, and then I can be successful in this process.
You want to go in there in your job hunt without your grief surfacing. You want to
Yeah.
showcase your capability, and
Hmm.
it doesn't matter how old you are. They are looking for relevancy and capability.
Absolutely.
And
100%.
Lori's there to work on your mindset, and she's also there to help you navigate the technology today. I
Yeah.
just read your newsletter, Lori, on doing an interview on AI,
Hmm.
and anybody over 45 would be, maybe even younger, even 40, would be astonished to do an interview on AI. Lori's
Yeah.
there to prepare you for these kinds of things, technology that you haven't needed to keep up with.
Yeah.
So that's what she's there for. Give
Yeah.
you.
The whole AI interviewing has become very interesting, even for the younger set, because you're used to engaging with a human being, a real human being.
Mhm.
And now technology, and you have to respect the evolution of our technology. If you
Yep.
ignore it or fight it,
Yep.
then it will simply leave you behind. You
Yep.
don't have a choice. My mindset is, all right, let's embrace it. Let's start from where you're at, wherever that is, and let's embrace what it is that you have to do to be successful in using this technology. So, if you've been told you're going to be having a what they call asynchronous, only a one-on-one, like a one-way interview with your computer. Sometimes there's an AI person that you're looking at that is asking you questions, but there's no real back and forth or conversation. I teach people, how do you speak to the camera? How do you look at the camera? How do you
Mhm.
answer when there's really no human being there because all they're doing is recording your answers that they have set up for you? And this allows greater efficiencies for the recruiters to scan through and look at transcripts. It also allows technology to kind of rate you based on how you look, how you show up, your energy, your eye contact, your movement. Because if you're just sitting there and you're rigid, that all of that is scored
Right.
based on your holistic, if you will, how you're showing up. So we practice all of that.
One thing that they could mention is how they can serve their company, and
Yep.
rather than how the company can serve them.
Yeah, so one of the things that I talk to folks a lot about in this whole process, I found it to be very interesting, Lisa. And again, this is just through observations now in doing what I've been doing for almost 2 years now. And I have helped close to, well, it's now well over 100 in the last 18 months
Incredible.
find a job, land very quickly after most of them have been out of work 6 months to a year and then sometimes 2 years. And so, one of the things that I have found when I really begin to have kind of those preliminary onboarding discussions and all of the things we do, I learned very quickly that a lot of folks were very comfortable in a role that they had for a long term before they were laid off. Now,
Mhm.
they were not laid off for productivity reasons or anything. They were laid off because the business made a decision to reduce their workforce for whatever those business goals are, whatever that is. Being removed from a position because you are not productive, that's kind of different. But a
Mhm.
layoff is usually there's a lot of
Yeah.
people. One of the things that I've heard multiple times, either purposely being told or a slip up, is wow. The last job that I spent 15 years, I could do that in my sleep. It was so
Oh.
easy. I loved it. I had a lot of work-life balance. I was able to work remote 3 days a week and then hybrid, and or I worked remote completely, and I was so good at what I did. I just never felt stressed. Well, now going into a new position, I'm going to have to work again.
Hmm.
That is very telling to me when someone says, "Wow, I'm going to have to go back at it. This is different than what I did 15 years ago or for 15 years." So I uncover a lot of interesting pieces of information. And so one of the things I try to steer people to is thinking about being of service to that company, to that team, to that organization, that
Hmm.
all of the years of experience that they bring in, understanding how they can help and solve for a company's needs, no matter the position, no matter what it is they're doing. If they look at it from a surface per, I am serving this organization. Yes, we're exchanging my service for a dollar amount for benefits, for other types of perks. But when you think about this is more of a service rather than I got to get up and do this or do that. Like I was talking to a lady that's recently been placed in a compensation role. She worked with me and she found a new role in benefits and compensation. And she said, Lori, for so long it was like, oh, I have to deal with these worksheets and these spreadsheets and I have to do this. Now it's like, no, I'm helping people, I'm serving people to make sure that what they are being paid is accurate and correct every single time I am serving others. She goes,
Right.
that whole mindset shift.
Hmm.
Now I'm eager to get up. I'm eager to be correct. I'm eager to be efficient so that I make sure that my folks in my organization are being paid correctly. So again, it's that
Yeah.
mindset shift.
Right. And service is such a big part of my Pearls method too. The last of the acronym is an S. It stands for service. And it seals the grieving process
Mhm.
and it builds momentum. We start job searching and we have a start date. It's very important to have a start and an end date so that you have a window to utilize your strategy.
Well, and I think so we touched on it just barely and like to touch on it again a little bit. One of the ideas that I hear over and over again is that I'm 56 years old. I'm just too old. I just I don't think people will find me young enough to do this job. Well, I immediately, because again, I'm very honest and direct. It's like, well, if you think you're too old, then you're too old.
Mhm.
I disagree. The last job that I was actually offered, I was 64 years old. No one knew that because I was always in there as a part of a team, a part of leadership that were, oh, half my age.
Mm.
I think it's attitude, it's relevance. It's like what you were talking about. How are you creating efficiencies? How are you serving others? How can you possibly, in an interview, say, one of the things I love about being in this position is I don't want to work toward management. I've been there and done that, but I would love to serve your team as a mentor, help them on your team be better so that you as a manager can be recognized and possibly look at your promotion. I can help you with that. And
Mhm.
so a lot of younger folks that are interviewing older folks like myself, I'm the one that can proactively bring that out on the table of the interview and talk a little bit about age. I can say, I have no intent to retire anytime soon. I would
Mhm.
love to help you get to where you want to be next, and then also help you, bring the team together very successfully. Again, someone is very easy to hire because you're showing relevance, you're showing initiative, and they understand now, you were there really to serve and to stay very productive. Well, it's interesting because the oldest client that I have, Lisa, came to me after she had retired.
Okay.
She unfortunately had to be a caregiver for her spouse first until he passed. Then her sister passed. And so after those years went by, and then she did some volunteer work for several organizations, I met her in a networking group. And she's like, I am bored out of my mind. I've got to get back to work. I can't seem to find a job. I don't know what I'm doing. Can you help me? And she goes, I don't necessarily want to do full-time work. I would love to do part-time fractional, whatever the term of the day is. And this is exactly what she told me. Well, very quickly, we settled into putting together a very customized strategy. She landed her first role, then landed a second role. She's a CPA. She specializes in business taxing from an internal perspective and then some other little nuances through her many years of being in accounting and CPA. Lisa, her age, I learned later, not during our process in working, but later on after she landed working and I was just following up with her to see how everything was going. I learned she is 81 years old. And at
Fantastic.
81, you would never, ever, ever, ever guess that
Mhm.
because of her attitude, her confidence, her energy, the way she dressed, how she appeared.
Mhm.
She was always polished and ready to go, whether she was virtually on camera or showing up for a coffee. And that's one of the things that I encourage my clients that show up for yourself and show up for others. Even if it's in a coaching call, even if you haven't been working for a while, you get in the habit of kind of staying in your workout clothes or putting
Mhm.
on the same t-shirt you had on yesterday. Oh, I'm just talking to Lori. It doesn't matter. No, I say, no, 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 no. You show up polished, hair combed. If you're a woman, makeup on, let's go. If you wear makeup, let's do this. Let's
Mhm.
show up for yourself so that I can see how you're showing up potentially on interviews or informal conversations or how you're conducting your workday. Because a
Mhm.
job search now is a workday. Ageism is real,
Mhm.
yes, but
Yes.
there's lots of ways to overcome it. Many, many, many ways to overcome it.
That's what you're that's what you're here for, Lori.
Yes.
How can
Yes.
people work with you, Lori?
So, first of all, I'm very easy to find. You can book a time with me. One of the things that I just encourage folks is just to have a conversation with me virtually on Zoom. I make it very easy for you to schedule a time. It's a 30-minute conversation because I want to know where you're at. I want to understand kind of what your strategies have been, what you're feeling really comfortable about, but what you may be struggling with. And then from there, we can make a decision on if working with me in a one-on-one coaching situation might work best for you, or joining our twice a week community. It's a live community in which I facilitate, in which I bring together 20 plus professionals that I'm working with in this community setting as they're moving in their own journey in their job search. I find that people that work outside of isolation, they work with others just like a team, they
Mhm.
get so much more done
Absolutely.
quicker.
Yeah.
VIP, the way I've set it up, because again, I'm working with folks that are not drawing a paycheck, or if they are working, it's in a contract type of role. I make sure that they understand working with me allows for a very small upfront deposit. And then the rest of what it is that we agree upon is paid after they land and begin working. So I defer. So I'm one of the only coaches that do a deferred type of payment, knowing that I work with job seekers, not career transition, leadership work, but these are folks that are not working or working in a temporary situation or in a bridge job, and they don't have a lot of discretionary income to spend on a coach that can definitely help them. I want to help first, and then my business can be paid later. So once
Great.
they are situated.
That's great. You're right. We rarely hear of that type of payment, and you are a busy coach.
Yes, I am very busy.
Yeah. So if you're looking for a job, use this time in between during your job search to reset, regroup. Don't dive into the next job right away. Get support. Lori will work on your mindset. She will work on a strategy with you. Take this time. Make it a gift to yourself. It's an investment. It's an investment. And if you're fine
Absolutely.
after you've landed that job and you're still grieving about any type of loss, you can work with me. My information is also going to be in the show notes along with Lori's. Thank you for showing up for yourself today. And thank you, Lori, for showing up for us.
Absolutely. I have so enjoyed this very much, and I'm
Um,
here to help anyone. So please reach out to me. Thank you so much, Lisa. I appreciate
uh,
it.